Okay, I'm going to show you how to create a circle graph. And below I have an example. And I did this in Excel and I cheated, but I would like you to do it by hand. First, to learn how to do it and learn some of the issues. Then really, we do use Excel for this kind of thing. This is great for showing, to compare things like this, like these activities out of the whole amount of time. I've got a title, my after school activities. I know that this is going to represent all of the time I have after school, and I can see visually very quickly what I spend my time on. I don't necessarily need to know the exact minutes, but I just want to be able to compare these categories with each other. So a pie graph or a circle graph is great for that. You can see right away I spent most of my time reading Mockingjay, followed by doing homework, spend very little time chatting with a friend on the phone, and so on. So each of these percentages relates to the size of the pie slice, and that's what we got to figure out how to do. All of those percentages need to add up to 100% because the circle represents the whole amount of time. So we created a table. I've got my activities over here, got the time, and then the minutes in minutes. And this is really important to have a total of the number of minutes you spent or the number of minutes from 3 o'clock when the bell rings to the time you go to sleep. So in this example, it's 9:45 is the sleep time, so that means a total of 405 minutes. And you may have to do a little math to figure that out. Obviously, it's a little easier if it's an even number like 3 to 10 would be 420 minutes. That's just 9:45, so it's 405 minutes. So now I have to figure out 30 minutes walking home. What is that out of 405? That's 30 out of 405. That's a division question. It's a fraction. So we have 30 divided by 405 is equal to 0.074. And I'm going to continue doing that for every single activity. 15 minutes divided by 405 is 0.037. And each one I can convert into a percent. I just move my decimal point over 2 places, and I can see my percentages start to add up. What happens, though, is you get rounding errors. So this is really important. We have to deal with this. When I added all this up, I was too high. Because I need to make sure that I can represent it on a graph so that people can understand it very easily. I turned them into percentages. And when I added it up, I was too high. I was 101%. Now what happens is you get rounding errors. And we'll see how we can deal with it. So here I had 7.4%. I thought, that's about 7. Okay, round down. 3.7, I'm clearly going to round up to 4. 18.5, I'll round to 19. 14.8, 15. 14.8, 15%. 29.6%, I rounded it to 30. And 11.1%, I rounded to 11. So that's how I ended up. When I added it up, I had 101%. So here, I'm going to figure out which is the best one to round, to drop down 1%. And what I decided was that 29.6, it's not that far off of 29, so that would be the best one to make it so that I have a total of 29%. Okay, so now I have the next part of this is that I need to, hang on a second, I need to then figure out how many degrees out of 360 degrees is 7%. How many degrees is 4% of 360? How many degrees is 19% of 360? The reason is this chart up here, okay, can only be drawn if I know what angle is that percentage out of 360 degrees. It would be really easy to do some basic ones, like you know that if you had 50%, that it would be 180 degrees. It would be a half circle, a semicircle. And that's really simple, but some of these are a little bit harder. You need to know exactly what angle is this. This angle here for 19% homework should be 19% of 360 degrees. And I should be able to draw it perfectly if I know that angle. So what is the angle? How many degrees out of 360? Will give angles for the sectors, and that's what they're called, the pie slices. I'm going to continue that in part 2.